What's up, everybody? Welcome to TeslaFix. Today we have to talk about the Q1 delivery results because it seems like the world is collapsing and Tesla is down on the floor. The Wall Street consensus is so far away from the delivery numbers actually that Tesla did. So let's jump into these Q1 results and see why Tesla is failing again. And for that, I have a very special person here to get into that, and I'm looking forward to it.
Welcome to TeslaFix. Make sure to subscribe and like this episode.
Yashu is here back on my channel, of course, because when I talk about Q1 results or delivery numbers or the Wall Street consensus kind of, I have to hit that bit. So here's Yashu. Thank you very much for being here. And maybe you can just tell the audience what you're up to, and then we can just start that.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's a great pleasure to be on your channel, on your awesome channel. I mean, it's not pretty times for Tesla right now, but it's funny because as we record this, Tesla's actually up, significantly on a green day today after falling what was 5% on the delivery news of them missing Wall Street consensus by like 50,000 or whatever it was. Now, what's interesting is that I thought it was going to fall a lot more. I'm not sure if you did, Jan, but I thought it was going to fall between 8 or 10%, but it only fell 5% that day and it's been green since. So I guess pleasant surprise when you're already down 30% year to date. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't try to catch a falling knife. That's why I didn't actually. It's just I wanted to rack up some Tesla shares more. I find this always a blessing when the Tesla stock is down. In my opinion, we see that it went up pretty much now. That's
we're up
crazy.
I think 4.2% so far as we record this on the day.
Yeah, so on Sunday this might change, of course, but it's because I release it there. But I think it's interesting to see this bounce back again. And so what's your opinion on the Q1 results? I'm gonna pull up the numbers that Tesla
let's
delivered.
Do that. Yeah. Look, I mean, I think if you look at the tweet that you're going to pull up, Wall Street consensus was way higher. Whisper number was way higher for deliveries. Tesla delivered 386,000. Let's round up 387,000 cars for the quarter. They still produced 433, right? So that chasm between production and deliveries is what has got people worried. Now, Tesla cites that their declines in the volumes were partially due because of the production ramp of the updated Model 3. They talk about the shipping diversions by the Red Sea conflict and the arson attack at Giga Berlin, all valid reasons. But I think the market at this point is kind of like, well, if you're that low year over year and you really have no excuse really if you're Tesla anymore, especially with the premium sometimes that Wall Street thinks they're baking into the stock. So seeing negative growth like that year over year in volumes is not obviously good for a growth story. So in that respect, it's worrisome. Now, if you couple that with Wall Street saying, look, Tesla's already lowered prices by so much, their gross margin is getting pinched. If Tesla's volumes aren't ramping with that increased promotions going on, they start to worry that there's more price reductions coming. Now, completely contradictory to this, they raised prices to new cars by 5,000 in some geos to start the next quarter. But the thing to keep in mind here is that Tesla still has those inventory cars sitting that they've built. So even though the price of a new car has gone up, not necessarily, because they still have the backlog that they have to sell. Now, Jeff Lutz was on Herbert's channel talking about why he thinks this is not really a big deal. And he talks about the updated Model 3 and the fact that they have to continue to ramp they have to continue production lines even for the old model as they switch over to the updated model. And then what happens is you have a backlog of those old models that people don't want. So that kind of chasm that we're seeing potentially could be a large portion of it could be because of that. China's always a worrisome story for Tesla, it seems right now, because the brand reputation it's not like a luxury car anymore. In China, it's a very almost like low affordable car. The brand is completely changed. So we have that narrative going on. But look, I think Elon is laser focused on software. He's laser focused on FSD. because you can sell these cars at a loss leader at a 0% margin if you needed to. If you knew that everyone that bought your car would subscribe to $300 a month or $500 a month or a Robotaxi package or whatever it might be in terms of a rev share, because you don't care about making money on these cars. You care about making all of the money in perpetuity with the software, which is high margin. So to sum up, I think we're in a really odd place where whatever narrative you might be finding right now for Tesla, you could find data points to back that up. Now, what narrative should you point to? I don't know, but I know that I don't want to bet against what Tesla is doing with FSD right now. I'm speaking firsthand, talking about experiencing FSD version 12.3.3, and I wasn't ready for what I saw. So all in all, very polar opposite story sometimes with Tesla, and you just don't know which side to follow.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how this unfolded, and also the setbacks that Tesla had. I mean, the arson attack was pretty dumb, I would say, for the whole situation. They had to stop production there, and I think this will be solved, especially now that the DA is now involved, and like the German FBI is searching for those guys. And I think when you kind of attack German infrastructure, that's like, it's not Tesla's infrastructure, it's German infrastructure. So they also cut off a small village. Hospitals were cut off, like in the nursing home. So this is a big deal, and I think this will make that Tesla will get more support, which is a good thing. Also with the protests, I think this will alleviate that a little bit. There will be still furious people about that, but I think terrorism is never seen as a positive. So I think that's a good thing for the overall situation in Germany, to sum it up. But if you look at the whole car market, I mean, have you seen the numbers of everybody else? It doesn't look too good. And BYD actually was behind Tesla now. They didn't have also a great quarter. So what's your opinion on that? Do you think that's an overall thing with the market?
Yeah, of course. I mean, auto declines are going to be normal, especially, by the way, I've seen a lot of people doing quarter over quarter analysis for auto. I don't think that's proper. I don't think it's appropriate. Even Elon did it, right? Elon replied to, I forget whose tweet, and he said BYD had a terrible quarter. You know, they were minus 46% quarter over quarter. Well, of course, I mean, seasonality is so huge in autos. Quarter one is always the weakest. So quarter over quarter analysis is meaningless. It's year over year that we care about. And yeah, BYD, I mean, Tesla still did worse than BYD year over year, albeit Tesla is at way different of a volume in terms of EVs. BYD still builds hybrids, right? So, and BYD gets billions of dollars of subsidies, right? So it's a different story. I'm not trying to compare it, but I think to strive for greatness, you really got to set the bar high. And now we're left in a question of what happens from here. How do volumes take that next step up? Is it just you just throw up your hands and you go, oh, interest rates are high. What do you do? Right. And you just wait for interest rates to come down. I mean, maybe, but if you're running a business, that's no way to run a business, right? You can't tell your employees, well, you guys tried, interest rates suck. We'll try again next year when they come down, right? Like you have to focus on what you can control. And Tesla's running more ads. I know a lot of people hate that, but they are running more ads. I'm seeing a lot of people saying, well, they've run a lot of ads in quarter one. Look how crap they did. To really, what I would say is, imagine if they didn't run ads, how much worse they would have done. So, you know, and I'll throw in a random little tinfoil hat. Someone tweeted at me and said, Yashu, if you look at the difference between production and deliveries for Tesla, could it be possible that they're not trying to deliver these cars that they make, right? The 433 produced versus 386,000 delivered. Could it be that they're trying to secretly stack up their own fleet, having ready all these cars so they can launch the Robotaxis themselves? I thought that was a very green glass way to look at this, but with FSD V12, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's kind of ridiculous, I would say. If they could sell them, they would, I would say, because then they would produce them, and I don't know, or I mean, those are too much. I think if they 10K maybe use, or 5K maybe, that's a realistic number to, or maybe 300 to test something like a taxi fleet somewhere, but not this amount of cars missing here, like over 50K. I wouldn't say that wouldn't make sense in my opinion here. But it's interesting that this changed, and why I bring you on my channel here as well is because I think you are a little bit more critical about the numbers, and there are a lot of Tesla bulls that are still a little bit, Tesla drunk, to say that. And I think it's interesting to see this angle. I'm also very emotional from the emotional side. I feel like Tesla is always winning, and that's why I need to bring somebody on who's more realistic. And maybe if people disagree, write that in the comments, but keep it civil, please. Of course, I always like to see those things. But Yashu, one more thing that I wanted to see. What was the most ridiculous things you've seen now from the Tesla community that we would say, come on, guys, we're not in Candyland, kind of,
I don't know. Well, to be fair, a lot of Tesla bulls have, like, we've reset expectations a little bit for especially for the next couple years on EPS. Maybe, I mean, look, I'll give you the opposite answer, and then I'll try to think about the answer that you gave me, or the answer that you're looking for at the end. But I would tell you, I was often so bearish about FSD for a while. If you watch my channel, I've had Farzad on, I've had people on that have FSD, and I've always been the one to be like, look, it'll take another 5 to 10 years, and even if it happens, then we have to get legislation approval. Then we're gonna have through all the red tape and bureaucracy to get it approved. And I've actually switched my tune in the last month quite a bit. And the reason for that is when I started seeing some of the FSD version 12 videos coming out, I'm like, whoa, hold on. This is next, like some of the behavior that you see is so human-like, right? And again, the end-to-end neural net, I understand it fundamentally because of what we've seen with ChatGPT and large language models in the last 2 years. So for me, I would say the opposite answer to that is me becoming a little bit more realistic about FSD timelines that Tesla is giving out. So now, I have FSD version 12, like I said, on my car. I've been driving around. It's not perfect, of course. There's still edge cases. There's still very basic stuff that sometimes I would like for it to change. But I'm curious to see how we start to see exponential progression with FSD to move forward. But now that I've thought about it a little bit, to answer your question originally, I think maybe some people are still in the camp of Elon is trying to hold down the stock to let us all buy, right? Like, let us all buy stock at cheap prices. I never liked that analogy when people are like, Elon's doing us all a favor by keeping the stock really low. That one really gets old quick, I think, for a lot of people, because you're assuming that people are just ready, sitting in cash to buy every single dip continually. So there's that. But I guess fundamentally, I mean, I would love to see Elon's compensation plan get sorted out before FSD gets launched, because if FSD gets launched here, I'm not sure when that'll be, but it seems like there's probably a step change coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the main focus, I think, and you've mentioned this point on your small summary video that you did on the Q1 results, which I find very good. I'm gonna link it also here. I think it's such a good summary because it is kind of, I also think that's the overhang. The overhang is that is Elon compensated or not? I think that's a big deal. It's crazy that a judge could just take that away. This lawsuit was ridiculous in my opinion, because many the majority of the shareholders wanted to have this compensation plan for him, which made sense because remember the times where this compensation plan was announced. I mean, this was a time where Tesla wasn't even close where they are now, and he did it. He did the milestones. It worked. It was also luck, maybe a little bit sprinkled inside of there, but still, it was pretty well executed. And now taking it back again, what the heck? That's actually ridiculous. And I get that there is like a nervousness now, and this has to be sorted out. Do you think he should get more shares now? Because of course, as a shareholder, that's kind of we also like don't benefit from that actually on paper. But
Right.
yeah, having him as a CEO still, maybe that's a upside. But what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, so I don't mean to toot my own horn. I was the person that quote tweeted someone saying that Elon should not get more shares, and I said this is the right take. Elon has 311 million shares. Is money really going to motivate this guy? Is what my angle was to that, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
getting more shares is not going to motivate this guy. And then Elon replied to my tweet with the 4 paragraph thing where he said, I don't, I don't see Wall Street working every single day, and they have, just as many shares as I
Mm-hmm.
do. I don't care about more shares. I just want voting control, because if I'm going to build AI stuff, I don't want to have less than whatever 25% voting control. And so I absolutely think there's a way. If Tesla was not a public company, there's an easy way
Mm-hmm.
to solve this. You just get dual class shares, voting and non-voting, and then you grant Elon the 25% board approval, shareholder approval, and then you move on your merry way.
And then
Unfortunately,
it's
once
separated from the shares, right? So his 25% are separate, and then the rest
it'll be like a
is
yeah, it's like
yeah,
a
is cut
dual.
into shares, kind of.
Yeah, it's like how
Yeah.
Google pre-IPO, like Google has Google L and then Goog, and then the difference is that one's voting and one's non-voting. Right?
Okay.
I think they both trade publicly too, right? So it's but you can't do that post IPO. That's the
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Okay.
and it wouldn't even be separate from the company. I think you could do it publicly, but the issue is that I don't think it's even allowed once you're a public company. So I don't know what the solution is here, but as you know, I personally would not care. I think it's a great idea to have Elon get no more money, let's say, and get
Mm-hmm.
25% control. Like, I think that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now, if you add in, okay, Elon has to get 25% monetary control as well, the mechanisms to get there make it a little bit more confusing on how you're going to, is it a buyback? Is there like I saw shout out Dylan Loomis from
Mm-hmm.
Electrified. He was
Yeah.
saying, why doesn't Tesla buy XAI, right? And immediately my head started spinning, because I was like, do we all forget about Solar City and the huge debacle and the lawsuit that was for years and years and years, because Elon bought a company that his brother owned, and how
Mm-hmm.
much people were fighting over Tesla's misappropriating funds to buy his brother's company to enrich his brother. That it's XAI would just be that on steroids, although it looks like a good idea on paper. So
Yeah.
I don't know where this goes. Like, quite honestly, I don't know. Elon still needs the cash to buy these shares if he goes that route. I mean, unless he sells Twitter or something, or X, I don't know if that's going to happen. So honestly, I don't know where this goes, but I know that Wall Street especially looks at this as a legit overhang, and they go, "Well, is Elon invested fully?" He's kind
Mm-hmm.
of said he's not. Okay, if he's not, and by the way, that Delaware court case is going to appeal. Like, Elon will
Mm-hmm.
appeal that. I don't know if that appeal will get upheld or not, but if it gets appealed and it comes back and then the shareholders vote on it again, great. I think that's a great story to end this. But let's
Mm-hmm.
assume that the appeal goes sideways. Elon doesn't get what he wants. Then what? Right? Then what
Mm-hmm.
happens? That's really the question.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I also think that's a big deal there, because this is the uncertainty. You want a stabilized company with the, of course, with the
Yeah.
management. Yeah, the management has to function, and this is
Mhm.
of course a thorn. Or yeah, that's a saying in German. I think that doesn't
No, it
translate
is. You're
into
right. That's a great
yeah,
way to
a
put it.
thorn
It's a thorn,
in the
thorn
eye.
on
That's what
it's
we
thorn
say.
on the side. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the delivery numbers and the production numbers, I think, yeah, are a little bit down. I think also what we've seen, especially in the German narrative, in the German market, they say, oh, yeah, Tesla is losing against hybrids actually right now. That might be true. I have to look into that more about the sales numbers, because now they just come in for Q1, and some European states are a little bit slower. So I have to wait until all the numbers are here to get a final prediction there. But I think that's just and also the kind of dip overhang that we maybe have more hybrid sales now, because there is a narrative that EVs don't work. But I think
Mm.
from a technology standpoint, and I also own a Model 3 Highland now, which that's super awesome, this car, and I've never owned an EV before, so I'm super biased, so take everything with a grain of salt. But I've never experienced a product like this. I have to test other EVs, I didn't drove any other EVs actually, but the way Tesla is integrated with the software, with the app, that I just walk over to the car, it unlocks stuff like this. It's so easy.
Yeah.
And I also sent friends of mine, for example, just a link to my car and said, go take it for a spin. And I didn't even explain to them how to use the car because I was so confident that it's so intuitive that they can use it. And turned out it was the case. They just stepped into the car, figured out everything by themselves, and just drove off. And they
Yeah.
didn't actually drive a Tesla before. So this is so interesting. I think the core product is so good that when you compare it to other cars, and also the BYD Seal seems to be a great competitor to the Model 3 Highland, but
Right.
in reality, the suspension is like not on par with the Model 3 and stuff
Yeah.
like this. So the Model 3 is a way more refined product. So I think that's where Tesla will shine more and more. Of course, I think in China, because you've mentioned that, I think that was an interesting point. In China, it's like that the market, of course, is more luxury focused kind of, and they want to flex with their car as well. And if it's more expensive, that's actually a good thing. That's why Mercedes was also so good in China at first, but now the Chinese competitors took over because they also have now the luxury segment there.
Yeah.
But how do you see that from that perspective, that you say, okay, the core product, how is that? I mean, FSD also counts into that. I mean, this is absolutely crazy what's happening there. This is the big catalyst. Do you think that this will be the turnaround, even, maybe if even Elon's compensation isn't settled, but seeing the rollout now, do you see that this will work? FSD will work at the end of the year? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah. And first, to first touch on the core product Tesla. I've looked at, like, Teslas are undefeated in terms of like the product quality, the build, the overall user experience. It's the iPhone equivalent,
Yes,
right, to cars
absolutely.
today. And there's no Samsung. That's the issue, right? Or there's no Samsung at scale, I should say, outside
That's
of
true.
China. China's a different beast altogether, but
Yeah,
yeah,
China's like those different Android phones, I would say. Like there's
yeah.
a platform, and it kind of works. They're good at software, but still, it's a little bit, it's not
Well, I mean, like, look at
vertical
Huawei, right?
integrated. Yeah.
Like, Huawei
Mhm.
phones probably are better in terms of specs than any iPhones for a while.
True. Yeah.
Google Pixel, they're probably better than specs in terms of specs than iPhones for a
Hmm.
while, but they don't get market penetration really nearly as much as Apple, because Apple has that brand, right?
Yeah.
But to answer your question, really, what does Tesla have to do? It's quite obvious. I think Tesla needs to really prioritize here their low end model. You know, the majority of the vehicle auto market, the penetration happens below that $25,000 level, right? That
Yeah.
Camry, Corolla level, and you can make the argument the Model 3 is semi there with rebates in a
Hmm.
lot of states, but the starting price, if Tesla can launch, once Tesla launches their new next gen model on their platform, I think that's like the real market penetration level for Tesla as a car company. But
Hmm.
honestly, a big portion of me has switched this quarter, when even before production delivery numbers were announced as bad as they were. I was like, well, who cares? Like, Tesla, what they're doing with FSD is just so important. And I actually think Rob Maurer even tweeted my exact thoughts on this. He said, I know production delivery numbers are, might be lower year over year, or whatever, but what Tesla's doing with FSD is just so much more important. And I totally agree, because if Tesla really can sell the market on FSD is about to happen, not in the next month, not in the next 3 months. Let's give it next 3 years, 3 to 5 years. I think that's very conservative, given Tesla's
Hmm.
approach to AI today. 3 to 5 years, right? I mean, look, 5 years, a million things changes, right? 5 years ago, Tesla was pre-COVID lows, right? So a lot can change in 5 years. I think if even in 5 years Tesla can solve FSD, the economics of Tesla right here, Rob and I were saying, I always look for Tesla's delivery reports, but it doesn't make much difference to me precisely how many cars they delivered. The progress on FSD is far more important. So
Yeah.
I think the FSD numbers get nutty for one clear reason, and I think people need to remember Tesla. My car has never had FSD in its life. I've never bought an FSD, had it on
Hmm.
trial, used my referral credits for it. Never. I got FSD 1 month for free by connecting my car to Wi-Fi, hitting download
Hmm.
on a bunch of code. Well, actually not code technically, but still code. getting my update, and now all of a sudden it could do these things. I don't think that blows people's minds enough that your car right now, your Tesla sitting right now, even though it can't do anything right now, like mine couldn't for 4 years, for 3.5 years, can get this Wi-Fi update. And then from there, all of a sudden do miraculous driving for
That's so
95%
crazy.
of the time. Right? So if Tesla solves this thing, the 6 million 6 million in the fleet is probably too high, let's say, for eligible FSD. Maybe in the US, Canada, maybe 3.5, 4 million. I don't know what you want to call it, but let's call it that, right? Can all get an update, and they can all pay $300 a month or 20% of all Robotaxi revenue or whatever it might be in terms of a monetary policy, in terms of monetary strategy. And they can unlock their car to the fleet to make money with. I think that is massively slept on, because if you can do this with
Absolutely.
if you can do this with 100 cars, 200 cars, I mean, cool. Like Waymo, right? Waymo, Cruise, like, we're talking sub 1,000, like in some cases sub 100 cars in fleets, right? We're talking Waymo has a disengagement rate of one disengagement every 17,000 miles, right? So not amazing. I see a lot of people saying Tesla needs 0 disengagements for 1 million miles before they can get to robotaxis. Not true. Right. So Waymo has one disengagement every 17,000 miles. Difference is obviously with like Cruise, they can call in and they can remote drive. Tesla has to figure out something there. But look, the enabling of this, the updating of your car, suddenly turning it into a cash making machine, technically, is all something that I think Wall Street, if they factor in, it changes the unit dynamics of Tesla away from that auto business. For a while, people on Wall Street were even buying into Tesla's not an auto business. Why? Because Tesla's gross margins were over 25%, right? Over 20%.
Yep.
I mean, like that's unheard of for an auto business. Today,
Absolutely.
Today it's the opposite, right? Today they're like, everyone is saying on Wall Street, Tesla was always an auto company. Their gross margins are falling.
Yeah. Suddenly.
Right. So I think what we oversold in 2021 was Tesla was a tech company today because of their margins.
Yeah.
What we're underselling today is Tesla is only an auto company today because of their margins. I think we've swung the other way too hard on the pendulum. And I think it's almost a perfect storm of Tesla's penetrating the market, continue to flood all countries with these cars as massively as they can. They're not slowing down production, evidently. And on top of that, FSD is making so much progress that even people that were the staunchest of Tesla haters are starting to see the light a little bit and saying, okay, hold on, there might be something here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the points you've touched on were super interesting, because I think this gives it a rounded view on Tesla a little bit more, because you've mentioned the software updates. I think that's such a overlooked feature, because when you compare that with the legacy car manufacturers, it's not working the same way. And SAS, I think software as a service, that will be more and more Tesla's thing. They can just, they are good at it already. They already use that. They already sell a performance pack for your dual motor. For example, if you have a dual motor, a long range, even, you can have a performance upgrade via software and stuff like this. So those updates are unheard of. I just wanted to share something on that point, because I think this is such a big deal because we have, like, the car's just the platform. That's why it's so important, of course, to get them massively to the masses, to have them finance their business through the software, of course, because that's the iPhone approach with the App Store, because of course, they earn much more with the App Store than with the phones itself. But they want to have people using their phones, of course, and that's the same with Tesla. And something else I wanted to touch on, because I think that's a key critical point you've brought up, was that advertising, for example. How much did they advertise? I'm from advertising and I'm from marketing, so I know a little bit something about this. If you want to reach at 2030 to get around 10 million, or let's say 8 million cars to people, you need to advertise. You have to do that, because of course, if you want to have the early adopters, they are saturated already. So what's the next point? Okay, they have try to get into to the truck people with the Cybertruck. Turns out not so many or truck people might buy that, but it's especially people who already own the Model X, for example, and just wanted to upgrade and something like this. So it is a huge success, but not the category maybe that people might thought. I mean, I think that's a much more like a flashy, car for stars, like you've seen already with Justin Bieber and Kim Kardashian driving around with that thing. This will have a huge halo effect from a technology standpoint. That's the benchmark for the rest of their future products down the line. But I think advertising is super critical as well to get people to see that, okay, oh yeah, that's way cheaper than a Toyota Corolla. Interesting. Stuff like this is really important.
If advertising, if anyone's listening and they think advertising is not important, just ask yourself, why does Apple advertise? Like Apple has,
that's true.
Right? Apple is the biggest brand in the world. Probably everyone knows it other than Coke. Why does Coke advertise? There you go. Ask yourself that.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's super important for the success as well, because you have to convey this feeling of the brand. And of course, Elon tweeting critical stuff all the time also skews the brand as well. So there is an impact, in my opinion. People always say, no, there's no impact and stuff like this. There is an impact. It might be 5% or 6% or 7% or 3%, who knows? But I think it's still a thing. But you can't deny that. Do I want Elon to shut up? I don't know. I wouldn't say so. Sometimes maybe, sometimes not. But I think, he's the inventor of our times, so he is a little bit crazy in some regards. So I take it. So it's okay. But I wanted just to share something for the over-the-air updates, because I think this is such a critical thing. I was waking up and suddenly there was automatic high beams with the matrix LEDs. So you can see that they just adjusted here, and the high beams are enabled, but you can see that there are those black spots kind of. Now there's a black spot here, and then it fills up. So something like this is just via over-the-air update, and this is just crazy. This is absolutely crazy, and I think this is the wonder of technology. You can see it here as well. It just goes black and then goes back on. And so stuff like this really is the convenience of the car, and experiencing the product now changed my mind totally. And I think it was also very interesting that you talked about FSD, that you were like kind of a denier, say, 10 years down the line and stuff like this, and suddenly you were like, whoa, what the heck?
Yeah.
Do you think those exponential growth curve will be solved? What's your prediction next year, FSD, or because it's such a huge catalyst?
Yeah, it's such a huge catalyst, so I have to be really probably a little bit more conservative, but I would love to see some updates come out of FSD. Like, I've only had one version. I want to see how it improves, and from there, I think I'd have a better gauge to say. But
for the trajectory,
for the projection. But I would say less than 3 years now. Like, and that might sound very bearish to a lot of people listening, but 3 years, right? I think Tesla can solve this thing to a point where they can commercialize it.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you very much, Yashu. I know you have to run, so thank you very much for doing this. And I think if to everybody in the audience, if you have a question, please write it down, ask a question, and I'm going to pull Yashu back to the comment section and say, here, answer the question.
I'll be
perfect.
There.
Yeah. So, Yashu, thank you very much for the overview. I think you've summed it up perfectly. And there's only one last thing to say here, and that's goodbye, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, Jan. Everyone hit subscribe to his channel right down below. Take care.
Please do. And Yashu as well. Hit that bit. I'm going to link it, of course. Bye, everybody.
Everyone. Take care.
Wasn't this episode awesome? Let's accelerate the pace of innovation by subscribing to TeslaFix. It is my absolute favorite channel on the whole interwebs.